Morning, guys. It's February 4th, and I could talk an hour, but I won't. 5 minutes. Okay. So, Chambers is talking about 2 Corinthians 5 here. And then I read the whole chapter, 2 Corinthians 5, and it's absolutely. It's funny because we have these nuggets of 2 Corinthians 5 that we love to quote, which is, if anyone's in Christ, he's a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. That's 5:17. And that's the one that's quoted most often. But if you read the whole chapter, it's this conflict of life in this body, in this world, looking towards the future, and trying to reach out and kind of take hold. That's the wrong way, actually. Chambers deals with it here. Take hold of God. That's exactly the opposite. Chambers talks about 5:14. For the love of Christ constraineth us, and the NIV says, for Christ's love compels us, because we are convinced that one died for all, and therefore all died. And Chambers, it's here. This is what I got from it today. Chambers is highlighting not what we do, but, and I wrote it down here in my devotional. Not what we do, but what He has done. And so then our life becomes an extension, or should become an extension. He constrains us. It's almost like, you ever? I'm trying to think. Is there some kind of blob tag where you tag someone and then you all have to stick together and you have to hold each other's hands? And once you grab someone, they become a part of the group, and everyone has to move together. And that's kind of what I see. It says Christ constrains us in 2 Corinthians 5. He makes us a part of Himself, and we are no longer ourselves. We are no longer individuals. Chambers says in the first paragraph here, very few of us know what it means to be held in a grip by the love of God. We are held by the constraint of our experience only. We think about things in light of our experience, and sometimes miss the bigger picture, which is the eternal picture, which is what 5 talks about. All of chapter 5 talks about life in this body versus life in eternity. Chambers also says here in the second paragraph there, we will take everything that happens as happening to Him. So when we truly grasp the fact that Christ has constrained us, He has made us part of Himself, that whatever happens to us is happening to Him, whether it be praise or blame, persecution or commendation. So Paul at one point talks about in chapter 5, we don't want you to take pride in us. We want you to take pride in the work of God in us. And Chambers ends this study today with this thought: this abandon to the love of Christ, abandon, letting go, becoming part of the blob, if you will. This abandon to the love of Christ is one thing that bears fruit in the life, and it will always leave the impression of the holiness and the power of God, never of our personal holiness. And so that's something that's a little bit of a contrast from what we've been studying, which is the spiritual disciplines. The spiritual disciplines are not for our holiness, only to be, as we're tethered to God's holiness, we want to be reflecting that. And so the spiritual disciplines are things that we should naturally desire, and naturally, they should become naturally a part of us. One last thought, which is one of my favorite verses, and it's not as often quoted as 17, but in chapter 5 at the end, Paul says, speaking to the Corinthians, we implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. And he's talking about also throughout chapter 5, this constraining force to go out and share Christ with the world, because we'll all stand before the judgment seat, and we'll give an account of the good and the bad that we did. And so and that's the reason why he's constrained to preach. But here's the best part. Be reconciled to God. God made Him who had no sin, Jesus, to be sin for us, so that in Him we might become the righteousness of God. God made Jesus the righteous one. He made Him to become sin. That's one of those things that, to me, is one of the most mysterious parts of the gospel. Jesus became sin, and as a result, when we submit our lives to Him, we become the righteousness of God. We are imparted the righteousness of Christ. We become righteousness, and he became sin. Anyway, I'll leave you with that, guys. Have an awesome day. I'd encourage you to read chapter 5 of 2 Corinthians. It's great stuff. Anyway, see ya.